Shalom Aleichem. Welcome back to this week's dose of a Biselleh Torah. Before we start, I want to say a word of congratulations to you that you're here, that we're studying together, that we're learning about this week's Torah portion and imbibing what is so vital to the Jewish soul. Well done. Naso is the parsha that we're reading this week, and it contains a lot of different information, but I'd like to begin from a completely different perspective. The question is often asked, what is Judaism? What does Judaism stand for? What is the essential element of our faith? And I believe it can be distilled to two ideas. One is that of justice, and the other one is that of holiness or kedusha. Justice stands by itself. We can see it is of paramount importance in our faith every time we look at the Torah or study a bit of what adheres as the essence of what Judaism is. We study about justice. The famous passage in the Bible, Tzedek, Tzedek Tedov, justice, justice that shall pursue, begs the question, because justice you shall pursue would have been enough. Why is the word justice repeated? Because it's trying to tell us that it's never just enough to rest on our laurels and to try to expedite justice as expediently as possible, but rather justice has to be pursued zealously. This was resting on, by the way, Justice Bader Ginsburg's desk to always remind her as Supreme Court Justice that justice had to be pursued to the nth degree. And we find this in the Talmud as well. The Talmud, so much of which is taken up with the idea of how to dispense justice. In this week's parsha, we learned that if somebody victimizes another individual, that defrauds them, steals from them, they, the victimizer, needs to pay the victim back what they stole, plus 20%, to teach them a lesson that this is a bad idea, and at the same time, to restore as best as possible the victim to wholeness. The other part of that, as I mentioned earlier, is that of kedusha, that of holiness. Holiness is an incredibly big part of what our faith, Judaism, stands for. And so many times in modernity, Jews are seeking the idea of holiness everywhere but within their own backdrop, within their own Judaism, within their own faith. They go to the Himalayas, they look to ashrams to give them an idea of what holiness is about. They don't have to look that far. They just have to look deeply within the Torah's pages itself to discover what it is all about. There are two thoughts in Parshat Naso that I want to draw your attention to that relate to this idea of kedusha, of holiness. The first is that of a Nazir, somebody who, despite everything else, feels inadequate. They feel that they haven't really reached the zenith of who they are in terms of holiness. And so they take on a variety of certain things that they say, I'm going to refrain from doing these so that I can refine my character. I'm not going to drink. I'm not going to cut my hair. For a man, I'm not going to cut my beard. I'm not going to involve myself in relations. Whatever it is, they take upon themselves things that they then, for a certain period of time, will not allow themselves to participate in or participate of. And then when the time has passed, they'll reclaim themselves and hopefully have climbed a little bit higher towards realizing their soulful potential. But the truth is, they're already holy. They just feel inadequate. They don't feel holy. Which is why the second aspect that is contained in this week's Torah portion is so vital, that of Tumah and Tahara, of purity and impurity. Because sometimes we feel terribly dirty. We don't feel that we are the pure creatures that our faith says that we are. And so we have a variety of things that they go to. Might be a Nazir, as I mentioned before, might be going to the mikvah. And it might be something even more pronounced, but more elemental. What I'm referring to is this. You are a miracle. You are an extraordinary being. Right now, as you're listening to this video, there is a war going on inside of you. The germs are trying to assault your body from all different ends. And your body, without being checked, without effort at all on your part, any consciousness, is fighting them all off. Is this not a miracle? When you go to the bathroom and you relieve yourself of toxins that could otherwise kill you, Is that not a miracle? That's why, by the way, there's a bracha, a blessing, when we leave the toilet called Asher Yatzar, thanking God for the miraculousness of a body that takes care of itself without us giving a thought to it. You are the miracle. You are the vessel of Kedusha, the vessel of holiness. God made you in God's own image. Ergo, you are a holy being. All that is left for us is to hold our hands out and to grab it, to hold it, to realize it is us and we are it. The word Kodesh means other. And when we realize that we are other than, that we're not ordinary, but we are extraordinary, we have recovered truly what our soul is trying to communicate to us. You don't have to go to the Himalayas to realize this. All you do is have to realize that you're breathing without thought, without care, without intentionality, and that you are seeing, and that you are hearing, and that you've got a roof over your head, and you've got food in your belly. All of these things make you other. But not unless they're seen, not unless they are acknowledged. And this is where Judaism is all about the rubber hitting the road, about saying a blessing for all things that exist. And then we become the fire, the flame that burns with an intensity that has no equal in the world. You are the miracle. You are the holy vessel.